This photo has quickly become one of the most talked about pieces of evidence in the Bigfoot community in recent months. First shared in the Bigfoot Believers Facebook group, it appears to show a massive, full-grown Sasquatch partially concealed among the dense foliage of the South Cascades. The image captures a moment that feels both striking and uncanny, a figure covered in brown hair, with a pronounced brow ridge and deep-set eyes peering out from behind the trees. Those who've studied the photo up close have called it one of the clearest and most compelling images of Bigfoot ever taken. The photographer, who has chosen to remain anonymous, explained that the encounter was both unexpected and brief. He reported that while hiking through the South Cascades with his camera in hand, he began casually snapping photos of the forest around him. At one point, he noticed what looked like a strangely human-shaped boulder, partially hidden by trees and ferns. Curious, he decided to take a picture of it, thinking it might make an interesting subject. At the time, he had no idea what he had actually captured. It wasn't until later, when he zoomed in on the image, that he realized the rock had features that were far too lifelike. The texture of the hair, the depth of the eyes, and the subtle structure of the face all suggested this was no stone at all. Instead, it appeared to be a living, breathing giant that blended almost seamlessly into its surroundings. The photographer added that right after he snapped the shot, the figure seemed to crouch or roll out of sight, vanishing completely into the underbrush. He admitted that if he hadn't been looking in precisely the right direction, he never would have noticed it. That quick camouflage and sudden retreat have fascinated enthusiasts. Many point out that eyewitness reports often describe Bigfoot as an expert at blending into its environment using shadows, trees, and thick brush for cover. The South Cascades, with its towering forests, heavy undergrowth, and rugged terrain, would be the perfect backdrop for such a creature to go undetected. The photographer emphasized how easily the figure could have been overlooked, proof of its incredible ability to avoid human detection even at relatively close range. What makes this image especially captivating is the detail. Unlike the blurry or distant photos that have circulated in the past, this one shows distinct features. Coarse brown hair, a massive brow ridge casting dark shadows over deep-set eyes, and a face with both human-like and ape-like qualities. The proportions of the head with its broad jawline and recessed eyes closely match descriptions reported by witnesses for decades. To many who have examined the photo, the sheer presence of this silhouette radiates both power and mystery. As always, skeptics have pushed back. Some argue the picture could have been staged with a costume or suit, perhaps as a hoax to fool the Bigfoot community. But the unusual circumstances surrounding the photo cast doubt on those theories. The photographer posted under a false account, deliberately concealing his true identity. He openly admitted he wanted no recognition, fame, or financial benefit from the photo. That's not typical of hoaxes, since people who stage such events often crave publicity or some kind of reward. In contrast, this man seemed determined to share his experience while keeping his identity hidden, making it less likely that the image was created for personal gain. Within the Bigfoot community, the photo sparked widespread excitement. Veteran researchers praised its clarity, calling it one of the finest images of Sasquatch to date. The stillness of the creature, its obvious natural camouflage, and the subtle detail in its features all contributed to the sense of authenticity felt by believers. Unlike grainy video or distant, indistinct shapes, this photo provides a direct, almost chilling look at what might be a living Bigfoot in its natural habitat. The South Cascades themselves add to the story's weight. This region has long been associated with Sasquatch sightings, with reports stretching back decades. Its forests, steep ridges, and relative isolation make it an ideal refuge for a large, elusive primate to survive while avoiding human contact. The idea that such a creature could move silently through these woods, largely unseen, has been reinforced again and again by accounts from hikers, hunters, and locals. What stands out most in this case is how ordinary the circumstances seemed. The photographer wasn't out on a Bigfoot hunt, nor was he part of any organized expedition. He was simply hiking, casually taking pictures, and happened upon what might be one of the most remarkable images of the creature ever recorded. That spontaneity gives the photo a layer of credibility. Unlike staged hunts, where evidence is often dismissed as contrived, this was an unplanned encounter, a fleeting glimpse that could easily have been missed. Those who have studied the photo in detail point to the natural posture and proportions of the figure. The slope of the brow, the way the hair falls across the shoulders, and the contours along its frame are difficult to mimic with a costume. Even the way light and shadow play across its face appears consistent with the forest environment, suggesting the subject was physically present at that moment rather than added in or staged. The photo's rapid spread on Facebook only fueled more debate. Within the Bigfoot Believers group, members dissected every pixel, adjusting contrast, zooming in on facial features, and arguing over interpretation. Many proclaimed it the clearest photographic evidence ever produced, while others remained cautious, noting that skepticism will always persist until more supporting evidence surfaces. Still, the consensus among believers is that the image represents a significant addition to the growing body of Bigfoot evidence. Ultimately, the photo serves as a reminder of Bigfoot's enduring mystery. For generations, the legend of this creature has gripped the human imagination, walking the fine line between folklore and reality. With each new piece of evidence, whether tracks, sounds, or images, the possibility that something extraordinary roams the forests becomes harder to dismiss. And perhaps even more stunning, recent reports suggest possible Sasquatch remains may have been discovered on public land in California. The images, also shared widely in online communities devoted to Bigfoot research, show what appear to be skeletal remains partially unearthed in sandy soil. If verified, this could represent the first documented physical relics of Sasquatch ever photographed. The first photo shows a close-up of what looks like a large, decayed foot structure still attached to a shin bone. Its size and shape immediately drew comparisons to eyewitness descriptions of Bigfoot tracks, with wide toes and a thick, heavy build. A second photo offers a wider view, revealing a more complete skeleton ribcage, limbs, and remnants of tissue still clinging to the bones. The harsh glare of a flashlight across the scene only heightens the unsettling atmosphere, adding yet another layer of mystery to the discovery. For many in the Bigfoot community, these photos are being hailed as groundbreaking. For decades, skeptics have demanded physical evidence, bones, a body, or DNA, insisting that until such proof is recovered, Bigfoot remains nothing more than folklore. These images, if genuine, could represent a historic turning point in the search for definitive evidence. Members of the Facebook group where the pictures were shared quickly dissected every detail. Some pointed to the unusually large foot structure as evidence that the remains could not belong to any known animal native to California. Others noted the significance of the discovery's setting. California has long been a hotspot for Sasquatch sightings, with reports stretching from the Sierra Nevada to the redwood forests. For believers, the idea that remains might finally surface in such a region isn't far-fetched. The uploader claimed the remains were discovered on public land, an element that only added to their plausibility. Vast tracts of rugged terrain and thick forests make such areas an ideal environment where a creature could have lived, died, and gone unnoticed for years. While the debate continues, the photos have already carved out their place in the ongoing mystery of Bigfoot. Verified or not, they stand as one of the most intriguing potential discoveries in the long history of the search for this legendary creature. And now, yet another claim has surfaced. A man says he captured a photograph of a Bigfoot standing directly outside his tent. In the sprawling, uncharted wilderness of North America, tales of encounters with the elusive ape-like figure continue to grip both believers and skeptics alike. Stories of strange footprints, eerie howls, and fleeting glimpses of towering, hairy figures in the woods have circulated for generations. Recently, a single image shared by a man who wished to remain anonymous sparked renewed public debate. The photograph appears to show a massive, dark silhouette looming just beyond the canvas walls of his tent, a figure many say bears striking resemblance to the legendary Sasquatch. Allegedly taken in a remote stretch of North American backcountry, the picture spread online with lightning speed, dividing viewers between awe and doubt as they parsed its authenticity and implications. The anonymous hiker posted the photo to a popular outdoors and Bigfoot-themed Facebook page, accompanied by a short but chilling account of his experience. He explained that he had been camping alone in a secluded area, miles away from any trails or established campgrounds, seeking solitude and a deeper connection with nature. By late evening, the forest had grown dark, with only the sounds of rustling leaves and the occasional cry of nocturnal wildlife breaking the silence. As he sat inside his tent, preparing to settle in for the night, he suddenly heard heavy footsteps crashing through the brush, growing louder as they closed in on his campsite. Frozen with fear, he stayed perfectly still, listening to the deliberate, measured movements just outside the thin canvas walls. Summoning every ounce of courage, he gripped his phone tightly and carefully unzipped the tent just enough to peek outside. What he saw, he later admitted, sent a chill racing down his spine. A massive, broad-shouldered, hair-covered figure was standing only a few feet away. The creature appeared to be staring directly at the tent, its eyes glinting in the dim light. Acting quickly, he snapped a photo before the figure turned and melted back into the forest. The photograph, later shared widely online, shows a towering, dark silhouette looming outside the tent. Though the lighting conditions were poor, the image still captured enough detail to reveal a hulking form draped in thick fur. The outline of the figure was unmistakable, an enormous frame with long arms hanging at its sides. While the facial features were difficult to distinguish, many who studied the image pointed out the shape of the head and shoulders, which aligned closely with classic descriptions of Bigfoot. A massive, muscular figure with a conical head and an imposing build. The ambiguity of the photo quickly sparked heated debate among enthusiasts and skeptics alike. Supporters of its authenticity argued that the proportions and details were consistent with countless eyewitness reports of Sasquatch sightings, from the broad stature to the arm length. To them, this was one of the clearest and most compelling pieces of visual evidence to surface in years, offering a rare close-up glimpse of the legendary creature. Skeptics, however, countered that the image could have been staged or manipulated. Some suggested it might be nothing more than a person in a costume or an elaborate hoax designed to attract attention. One of the most contentious aspects of the case was the lack of specifics provided by the anonymous hiker. Although he insisted the photo was taken somewhere in North America, he refused to disclose the exact location or even the state where the encounter occurred. That decision fueled speculation on both sides. Some argued his anonymity and reluctance to reveal details actually lent credibility to the story. Perhaps he feared ridicule or unwanted attention if his identity were known. Others contended that if the photo were genuine, he would have no reason to hide and would likely want to share as much information as possible so researchers could investigate the site. Online, the post drew passionate responses. For believers, the image represented a breakthrough, an extraordinarily rare and valuable piece of evidence that might help prove Bigfoot's existence. Many users praised the man's courage for sharing it despite the inevitable skepticism, with some even offering their own stories of strange wilderness encounters that they said aligned with the photo's details. Others took a more cautious stance, acknowledging the image was compelling but insisting more verifiable evidence was necessary before drawing firm conclusions. They called for professional photo analysis and wildlife experts to study the image in greater depth, hoping that further scrutiny could provide additional insights. Whether authentic or not, the photograph made an undeniable impact on the Bigfoot community and beyond. It underscored the enduring fascination with the legend of Sasquatch, a mysterious figure that continues to blur the line between myth and reality. The legend of Bigfoot continues to capture the imagination, especially in North America, where vast stretches of wilderness remain largely unexplored. For believers, every new sighting or photograph represents a tantalizing possibility, a chance to peel back the mystery surrounding one of the world's most famous cryptids. At the same time, each new claim underscores the challenge of proving that such a creature exists. Even in the era of smartphones and high-resolution cameras, most evidence remains inconclusive, obscured by distance, motion blur, or unverifiable claims. And yet, that lingering ambiguity is exactly what keeps the legend alive. The possibility that somewhere, deep in the forests, an undiscovered species still evades human detection. One of the most talked about pieces of evidence surfaced in the summer of 2024. A trail camera set up in the backcountry of Washington captured an image that many now hail as the clearest photograph of Bigfoot to date. The camera belonged to a man named Harper, an avid outdoorsman and lifelong wildlife enthusiast. The photo shows a massive, upright figure covered in thick, dark hair striding through dense timber. The outline of the shoulders, arms, and head are unmistakably humanoid, yet the proportions are far beyond those of any person. To believers, it is a snapshot that defies simple explanation. Washington state has long been considered prime Bigfoot territory. Its endless forests, rugged mountains, and remote, uncharted valleys provide the perfect refuge for a large, elusive animal to remain hidden from humans. In fact, the broader Pacific Northwest, including parts of Oregon and Northern California, has produced more Sasquatch reports than anywhere else in the world. For decades, hunters, hikers, and locals alike have described encounters with a towering, ape-like creature that walks upright and vanishes just as quickly as it appears. Harper, who has lived in Washington his entire life, grew up surrounded by these stories. As someone deeply fascinated by wildlife, he spent countless hours exploring the backcountry and had always been curious about the region's local legends. While skeptical of Bigfoot's existence, he nevertheless set up trail cameras deep in the woods near his property. His goal was simple: capture deer, bears, or other wildlife that roamed the area. What he didn't expect was that one of those cameras would capture something extraordinary, something that, depending on who you ask, could either be the most important piece of Sasquatch evidence ever recorded, or just another chapter in one of America's most enduring mysteries. In mid-July of 2024, Harper hiked out to retrieve the memory card from one of his trail cameras set deep in the forest, about 15 miles from his home near Mount Rainier. It was a spot where he had captured plenty of wildlife before, and he was eager to see what the camera had picked up this time. Scrolling through the images, Harper first saw the usual suspects: deer, raccoons, and the occasional black bear. But then one photo stopped him cold. It wasn't like anything he had ever seen. The image showed a massive bipedal figure striding across a small clearing in the woods. The silhouette was covered head to toe in thick, dark hair and stood, by Harper's estimate, well over 7 feet tall. Its broad frame and long arms suggested enormous strength. The head appeared slightly conical, and although part of its face was obscured by brush, the wide shoulders and unmistakably upright posture set it apart from any known animal. This was no ordinary shot of wildlife. Harper froze as he realized what he was looking at. The trail camera was securely mounted in a remote area, far from hiking paths or human activity. There was no chance the camera had been tampered with. After carefully reviewing the photo to rule out a glitch or prank, Harper became convinced he had captured something extraordinary. Unsure of what else to do, he shared the image online, posting it to both Bigfoot forums and his circle of friends. The reaction was immediate. Within hours, Harper's photo was circulating across social media, drawing the attention of both believers and skeptics. To those in the Bigfoot community, the picture was one of the most compelling pieces of evidence to surface in years. The clarity of the image, paired with the creature's towering size and upright stance, made it difficult to dismiss. Some even noted how closely the figure matched previous eyewitness descriptions from the Pacific Northwest: cone-shaped head, long arms, and a coat of shaggy hair. Researchers from the cryptozoology community quickly reached out, eager to learn more about where the photo had been taken and to conduct their own investigation. Harper, however, was cautious. He refused to give up the exact location, worried that an influx of curiosity seekers could disrupt the wildlife or compromise the site. Still, he did agree to cooperate with a few trusted researchers, allowing them to visit the area in hopes of finding additional evidence, such as tracks or hair samples. Skeptics, meanwhile, were quick to weigh in. Some argued the photo, while intriguing, could be nothing more than a case of misidentification, a black bear caught mid-stride on its hind legs, or perhaps even a person in a costume. Real or not, Harper's photograph added another chapter to the long-running saga of Bigfoot in the Pacific Northwest. For many, it rekindled the question that has lingered for generations: is something truly extraordinary still walking in America's last great wilderness? The legend of Bigfoot continues to stir debate, and Harper's photograph has reignited interest in the vast wilderness of Washington state. Enthusiasts have already begun organizing expeditions, using Harper's sighting as a guidepost for their searches. Some researchers have even set up their own trail cameras in the area, hoping to capture another glimpse of the elusive creature. For Harper, the experience has been both thrilling and overwhelming. He never expected the photo to attract so much attention, yet he remains open to the possibility that what he captured could indeed be a Sasquatch. At the same time, he acknowledges the need for proper scientific analysis and further investigation to validate the claim. Harper continues to work with a small group of researchers, hoping their efforts will uncover additional evidence and provide more definitive answers. And then came another startling report: Bigfoot scat discovered in the Pacific Northwest. The dense forests of the Pacific Northwest have long been considered a hotbed of Bigfoot lore. Recently, a new claim has emerged, one that has sparked fresh curiosity about the creature's existence. A hiker exploring remote trails deep in the northwest wilderness claims to have found what he believes to be Bigfoot droppings. The discovery has fueled heated debate within the cryptozoology community, intriguing both skeptics and believers alike. The hiker was trekking along a narrow trail when he stumbled across something he had never encountered before, a massive pile of scat lying along the path. An experienced outdoorsman with years of backcountry travel under his belt, he was immediately struck by its unusual size and shape. At first, he assumed it must have belonged to a bear, but on closer inspection, certain details didn't line up with the droppings of any known animal in the region. He described the scat as significantly larger than that of a black bear, more cylindrical in shape, with a texture that suggested a mixed diet. Embedded within the matter were plant material, seeds, and what appeared to be fragments of small bones, possibly from rodents or fish. Convinced he had stumbled onto something extraordinary, the hiker carefully photographed the scat, recorded its GPS location, and collected a small sample, sealing it in a plastic bag for further analysis. Once back from his trek, he shared the discovery across several online forums dedicated to Bigfoot research, posting the photographs along with a detailed account of the location and circumstances. His post quickly drew widespread attention within the Bigfoot community. Many enthusiasts expressed excitement at the possibility that the scat could provide long-sought physical evidence of the creature's existence. Some cryptozoology researchers pointed out that both the size and composition of the droppings aligned with prior theories about Sasquatch's diet. Given the rich biodiversity of the Pacific Northwest, its wildlife, vegetation, and plentiful water sources, it's plausible, they argued, that a large primate-like species could thrive there by maintaining a varied omnivorous diet, much like bears do. The inclusion of small bones and seeds in the scat reinforced the idea that the creature might be opportunistically hunting small animals or fish in addition to foraging for berries and plants. The location of the discovery also bolstered its credibility. Found near the forests close to Mount Hood, an area well known for its dense canopy, steep terrain, and sparse human presence, it provided the perfect conditions for a large, reclusive animal to survive unnoticed. Several Bigfoot sightings have been reported in the area over the years, and many researchers consider it one of the prime locations for those searching for evidence of the creature. The man's discovery of scat seems to fit into this pattern, suggesting he may have stumbled upon a habitat regularly frequented by Sasquatch. He later stated that he was already planning a return trip, this time accompanied by a small team of Bigfoot researchers. Their goal was to set up additional trail cameras and search for other signs of Bigfoot's presence, such as footprints, broken branches, or additional scat samples. By revisiting the site, they hoped to collect more evidence that could either support or disprove his initial find. The ongoing debate over the scat underscores the challenges and complexities of Bigfoot research. While the discovery remains unproven, it has stirred curiosity in the region and drawn new attention to the possibility that Sasquatch may indeed roam the forests of the Pacific Northwest. Within the Bigfoot community, some see the discovery as a potential breakthrough, while others remain cautious, waiting for more verifiable proof. If the scat ultimately proves to belong to an unknown species, the implications could be enormous. Finding physical evidence of Bigfoot would mark a milestone in cryptozoological research, providing tangible proof that the legendary creature is more than myth or folklore. Such a finding could spark a renewed wave of scientific interest in the Pacific Northwest, leading to new expeditions and deeper studies of the region's wildlife and ecosystems. And then came another story, this time about a man who claimed to have encountered Bigfoot while hearing the sound of trees being struck. Stories of these elusive, human-like creatures, sometimes called Sasquatch, have circulated in folklore for centuries. And even in today's era of advanced technology, reports continue to surface. One such account recently appeared on social media, where a user described a vivid and detailed encounter with a Bigfoot deep in the forest. According to his claim, the creature saw him, picked up a stick, and performed a classic wood knock before disappearing into the trees. Despite the detail in his account, he provided no specific time or location, leaving his audience both intrigued and skeptical. The man shared his story on a popular Bigfoot discussion forum. In his post, he explained that he had been on a solo hike, exploring a remote and densely wooded area far off the main trails. The atmosphere was calm and quiet, filled only with birdsong and the rustle of leaves. But as he pushed deeper into the woods, he began to feel a sense of unease, like he was being watched. That was when he saw it. A massive figure standing just a short distance away. At first, He thought it might be a bear, but as he looked closer, he realized it was unlike any animal he had ever seen. The figure stood over 7 feet tall, covered in thick, matted black hair. Its frame was broad and powerful, with wide shoulders and long arms that nearly reached its knees. The face, partially hidden in the forest shadows, carried a distinctly human-like appearance. Its deep-set eyes seemed locked onto his. For a moment, the two stood frozen, staring at each other in silence. The witness described feeling a mix of fear and fascination. Then, to his surprise, the creature slowly bent down and picked up a large stick from the ground. Holding it in one massive hand, it struck a nearby tree with a resounding crack that echoed through the forest. This behavior, commonly known as wood knocking, is often cited in Bigfoot lore as a form of communication these creatures are said to use. After producing the sound, the figure paused, almost as if it were waiting for a response. When none came, it cast one more glance in his direction before turning and disappearing back into the dense undergrowth. Wood knocking is a behavior frequently reported by those who claim to have encountered Sasquatch. Enthusiasts and researchers believe these knocks may serve as a form of communication, signaling others in the area or establishing territory. Some even speculate that it could be a warning to other Bigfoot about the presence of humans nearby. His claim of witnessing this behavior firsthand gave the story a measure of credibility among believers, since tree knocking is a well-documented phenomenon in Bigfoot reports. Skeptics, however, argued that this very detail could also be a red flag that the account might be fabricated. They pointed out that wood knocking has become such a widely known behavior associated with Bigfoot that anyone with even a basic knowledge of the subject could weave it into their story to make it sound more authentic. Critics on the forum noted that while the inclusion of wood knocking added a dramatic element to the encounter, it could just as easily have been an intentional embellishment designed to attract attention. One of the main sticking points, they emphasized, was the lack of concrete details. The witness never provided a specific time or location for when the encounter took place. That omission left many questioning not only the circumstances of the sighting, but also the credibility of the story as a whole. Without a location, whether the encounter happened years ago, months ago, or more recently, those interested in following up on the claim had very little to go on. The lack of specifics made any meaningful investigation almost impossible, turning what could have been a compelling lead into yet another unresolved mystery. The reaction to his post became a microcosm of the larger debate over Bigfoot that continues to thrive in popular culture. On one side were the believers, fascinated by the account and eager to engage with the storyteller. Many praised his courage for sharing his experience, while others chimed in with their own reports of similar encounters involving tree knocks or sightings of towering, hairy figures in the woods. Whether the man's encounter was genuine or not, the story underscored the enduring fascination people have with the Bigfoot mystery. The details he provided, the creature's imposing appearance, its piercing eye contact, and the dramatic tree knock lined up with countless other accounts of sightings and reported behaviors over the years. Yet the absence of a time and place cast a long shadow of doubt, leaving the community split squarely between believers and skeptics. A mysterious creature captured on trail cam. In the dim shadows of the forest night, a figure suddenly appeared. The silhouette, stooped yet unmistakably humanoid, was captured on film by what many believe to be one of the most reliable tools in modern wildlife research, the trail camera. To enthusiasts, the image suggested Bigfoot itself, one of the most elusive and hotly debated creatures in contemporary folklore. Trail cameras, also known as game cameras, are widely used by hunters, wildlife enthusiasts, and researchers to monitor animal activity in remote areas. Outfitted with motion sensors and night vision capabilities, they are designed to capture candid moments of wildlife without disturbing natural behavior. In this case, the device may have documented something far stranger than deer or bears. For example, a hunter had set up several trail cameras in a remote forest known for its thick vegetation and minimal human activity, hoping to capture images of deer or other local wildlife. One night, one of the cameras was triggered, recording an image that would soon become the subject of intense scrutiny and debate. When reviewing the footage the next morning, the hunter was stunned to see the silhouette of a massive, crouching figure. Unlike any known animal, the shape appeared humanoid, with a bulky frame, long limbs, and a body covered in dark hair. The trail cam photos suggested a creature standing an estimated 7 to 8 feet tall, based on surrounding vegetation. Its posture was hunched, as if frozen in a moment of stillness or perhaps attempting to conceal itself. The body appeared muscular and powerful, cloaked in thick, dark fur. The arms extended well past the knees, one of the most frequently reported traits in Bigfoot sightings. The creature's crouched stance could point to several possible behaviors. It might have been foraging, surveying its surroundings, or actively trying to avoid detection by keeping low. Such positioning is consistent with numerous eyewitness reports of Bigfoot, where the creature is often described as cautious and acutely aware of its environment. When the individual shared the photos with local wildlife experts and Bigfoot researchers, the images quickly gained attention. Public reaction was a mix of fascination and skepticism. For believers and enthusiasts, the photos offered compelling evidence supporting Bigfoot's existence. Researchers specializing in cryptid studies conducted detailed analyses of the images. Several well-known analysts noted distinct anatomical differences between the figure in the photos and any recognized wildlife species. They pointed out the arm length, muscular definition, and upright posture as inconsistent with bears or other large mammals in the area. While the leading interpretation leaned toward Bigfoot, alternative explanations were also raised. Some experts suggested the figure could have been a known animal caught at an unusual angle, creating a case of mistaken identity. Others speculated it might be a hoax involving a human in a costume, though the remote setting and the camera's built-in timestamp made this less likely. Ultimately, the trail cam images reignited debate over Bigfoot's existence. They provided a rare piece of potential modern evidence, captured by contemporary technology. The case underscored the growing role of trail cameras in these investigations, tools capable of gathering and preserving evidence in ways that were nearly impossible in the past. A pregnant Bigfoot. Sightings of this elusive, ape-like, bipedal creature have been reported across North America for decades. Yet conclusive evidence has remained out of reach. In 2023, however, a remarkable event unfolded deep within the dense forests of Washington state. A man named James Whitaker managed to capture a crystal-clear photograph of what appeared to be a pregnant Bigfoot gently cradling her belly. Was captured on camera by Dr. James Whitaker in the dense forests of Washington state. Whitaker described the encounter as one of the most startling moments of his life. He had ventured deep into an isolated stretch of wilderness, far from human activity, intending only to photograph his dog against the backdrop of the woods. Armed with a professional camera, he thought he was prepared for the day ahead. Nothing, however, could have prepared him for what he was about to witness. As Whitaker moved quietly through the forest, his dog suddenly refused to go any farther, something it had never done before. Moments later, he caught an unusual movement in a clearing. Cautiously, he raised his camera and zoomed in. At first, he assumed it might be a bear, but what came into focus left him speechless. The figure was unmistakably humanoid, towering nearly 8 feet tall, covered in dark hair, and partially obscured by the trees. Most striking of all was its swollen abdomen, which it was cradling with one massive hand in a gesture that conveyed both tenderness and awareness. Whitaker snapped a photograph just before the creature locked eyes with him, then turned and disappeared into the forest. Back home, Whitaker reviewed the images. One stood out in particular, a detailed, sharp photograph showing the creature's face and upper body. Its deep-set eyes, pronounced brow, and broad, flat nose were clearly visible despite the heavy hair. The enlarged belly and the hand resting gently on it suggested pregnancy. The intimate nature of the pose shocked Whitaker, who admitted the image carried with it a strange sense of humanity. When the photo was released, it immediately spread online, sparking fascination and debate. Enthusiasts hailed it as some of the best evidence yet of Bigfoot's existence, especially the implication of a pregnant female, suggesting an active, reproducing population. Skeptics, however, were quick to question the plausibility of such a creature remaining undiscovered in modern times. Outside of the Bigfoot community, reactions were mixed. Some praised the photograph for its clarity, noting that it surpassed 99% of existing Bigfoot photos. Others claimed it was too clear, dismissing it as a likely hoax. Many researchers expressed frustration with this double standard. Skeptics demand higher quality images, yet when they appear, they are immediately dismissed as fake. The debate echoed the famous Patterson-Gimlin film of 1967. One of the key arguments supporting the authenticity of that film was the apparent presence of female anatomy, the large, naturally moving breasts visible as the creature walked. Anthropologists and primatologists noted how difficult it would have been to convincingly replicate such anatomical details with the costume technology available at the time. Similarly, Whitaker's photograph reignited public fascination with Bigfoot, particularly the possibility of a pregnant female. The image raised broader questions about what other undiscovered species might inhabit our world's remote corners,